Do you suffer from painful, heavy periods, PMS, mood swings, or migraines? Are you tired of being told they are just normal parts of life? Or are you afraid your child's going to suffer these symptoms too? At Vividis, the full of life company, we take the pain, misery, and confusion out of those menstrual cycles and replace them with tools of empowerment and time management so you can be Vividis. Visit embracingflowpodcast.com for more information on transforming your cycles from ow to wow. Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.
Ever felt frustrated being told PMS, heavy bleeding, and cramping are just normal parts of life? You're not alone. I loathed my monthly cycle for decades. That all changed when I earned 3 health coaching certifications discovering something incredible. Your period is vital. It is an outward sign of your inner health, and it holds the key to unlocking your full potential. I've been there battling heavy, painful periods, and I turn them into cycles with minimal PMS and cramping. Today, I'm on a mission to share that information with you. Pour a cup of your favorite drink, get comfy, and grab your headphones as we embark on a candid and empowering journey of self-discovery. Together, we'll demystify menstrual cycles, explore cyclical living, delve into natural birth control, and guide parents through those crucial period talks with tweens and teens. It's time to break the taboo around menstruation and embrace the wisdom it holds. I'm your host, Heather Almendinger, and this is the Embracing Flow podcast.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Embracing Flow. I'd like to introduce our guest today, an expert at Embracing Flow, Ilsa Greatorex-Duncan. How are you, Ilsa?
I am doing so good, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm super stoked for our conversation.
I am too. I met Ilsa. She is a dot. She is one of my dot sisters. If you're unfamiliar with dots, it's a polka dot powerhouse. It is a connecting company, and we have met, and I absolutely adore all of my dot sisters, and I am very happy to introduce you to her. Ilsa is a regenerative health practitioner and iridologist. She grew up in the midcoast Maine on a small organic farm and started learning about natural medicine from her mother at a young age. Her first business, though, was as an actress and aerial dancer. She performed and taught classes nationally until she found herself in her own health crisis. After trying what she felt like was everything she possibly could, she discovered regenerative health, and it only took 3 months for her to get out of chronic pain, repair her hip issues, resolve her adrenal fatigue, and balance her hormones. She was overjoyed, and this inspired her to share the protocol with her loved ones, and they also had incredibly rapid health breakthroughs. That was the turning point. She was determined to share what she had found with the world, so she got certified as a practitioner through the Institute of Regenerative Health, and she's been practicing ever since. I love your story, Ilsa.
Thank you.
We'll go into it a little bit more so that way our listeners understand kind of more of what really you went through. But
Yeah.
before we do that, because that kind of brought you where you are today, all of my guests, I asked them their first cycle memory, about what age and your experience.
Oh my gosh. So I was surprisingly embarrassed about my cycle and my body changing. I was 12 years old, and my mom was a nurse midwife. So I even went to births with her. I was brought up talking about women's health. You would think that I would feel so comfortable speaking with her in the world about my body and my changes. But it was the opposite for me. It was weird because she was so open about it. I didn't want to talk about it at all. She wanted to celebrate it, when it happened, and she bought me the book, Our Bodies, Ourselves, I think it's called, which is like the Bible of, everything from contraception and like, things that can happen with your period and that kind of thing, to just wellness in general. So that was awesome that she was trying to find ways to teach me, even though I wasn't receptive to that at that stage in my life. And then it wasn't until I passed my teeny years of, being a ho-hum kind of a girl, that I reconnected with my mother and I was actually able to open up and share with her more. And she was able to share with me things that I was like, oh, I wish I had known that, years ago. And I'm sorry I couldn't hear it before, mom. So it's really interesting. Yeah, I remember wanting to hide it almost. I was just like, I don't even want to say anything. Like, I'll just blame it on my girlfriend who came over last week. So yeah, it was a little interesting for me.
And
And
I'm finding that there are 2 camps. Uh, yours is a very special one. It's kind of on the outline of one of the camps that you knew about it. You were kind of prepared that it was gonna come, but there was some shame, and even a very, very open parent, just you're like, "No." And then the other camp is they had no idea what was gonna happen. I am looking forward to the camp where they knew, they were prepared, that everything was there. Um,
great. Yeah.
and
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the day where I come across somebody that's like, "Yep, I got it. I told my mom. I didn't have to she told me about it, or my grandmother, they told me about it. I was prepared. It's a wonderful, beautiful thing. I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
celebrate when I come across one of them."
Yes. Yes. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
It
Mm.
will be absolutely beautiful. But you were an aerial dancer and a dancer or an actress,
Yes, that was my first
before
profession.
this. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so that that's a very demanding schedule, and it your bio said a little bit of we shared a little bit about will you share a little bit more about what happened and how you got onto this path of
Yeah.
regenerative health?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So I started acting and dancing right out of high school. That was the one thing that I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be an actress on Broadway. So I moved to New York City and I did the thing for 5 years where I was trying tooth and nail to go to auditions multiple times a day, and I was really working my body, going to dance classes all the time. And I fell in love with aerial dance while I was there because I didn't like going to the gym. I was like, I want to learn a skill and like get good at it while I get strong. And dance was one of my favorite things to do. So I was like, well, this seems to make sense. And then once I
Mhm,
started exploring it, I was like, oh, this is phenomenal and so much fun and a great workout. So I started shifting in that direction as I was falling out of love with the acting scene as far as the amount of rejection and the shame that you feel on a regular basis if you're a regular human being. Um, I'm generalizing, of course, but like this is what I experienced, and I know a lot of my acting friends did too. As far as just going into a room, opening your mouth for like literally 5 seconds, they're being like next, and not even looking at you, or being like, oh, actually, you're too big, you're too small, you're too tall, you're too this, you're too that. And that was the scene in New York. And you always had to change yourself to be what they wanted you to be. So I got sick of that after a while. And I was like, this is not agreeing with my soul. And I'd much rather lean into the movement side of things. So I really started dancing and doing all that stuff a lot more. And then I found a school in Boulder, Colorado that took beginners, which in the aerial dance scene, it takes a while to build up that strength to actually be able to do the moves at all. So I still felt like a beginner even a year after I had started training. So I applied there and I was like, maybe, maybe I'll get in. Well, just give it a whirl. So when I was accepted, it blew my mind. I was like, wait a second. Okay, I got in. And it just felt like the right thing to do. My intuition was like, just go. So I made some big changes. I made some big plans and I ended up going to get certified as an aerial dancer in Colorado. And that led me down a whole performance path for quite a few years. I joined a little girls group after I got out of school and we were traveling around doing different gigs all over the place and it's super fun, very rewarding work, but also a lot on the body. And with the aerial scene in my early 20s, I put some things in my body I probably shouldn't have. There's a lot of partying here and there, that I
Mhm.
dabbled with. And I just like to have a good time, while I was enjoying friendship and stuff. But that started catching up with me with the movement and everything that I was doing. All of a sudden, I started feeling some chronic pain come up in my body. And this was probably about 5 years after I had started doing the aerial dance route of things. But my hips started aching. My bones started creaking a bit more. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but I started kind of feeling like I was turning into an old woman. And at that point, I hadn't even hit 30 yet. And I was like, uh, there's got to be something that I'm missing here. And so it took me probably a couple years of that like middle of the zone discomfort where I was like, it's not quite enough to do anything about it, but I'm gonna start like shifting my diet a little bit, cleaning up my act, drinking more water, the normal things. So you're like, oh, I should try these things. And I started shifting my high intensity training to a little bit more of just like dynamic movement, but not like the big drops and things that I was doing all the time. And at that point, my pain started getting worse and worse. And then it got so bad that I couldn't sleep at night. And it was really getting in the way of how I was communicating with my loved ones and people I was interacting with on a day to day basis. And I was like, okay, else like I guess it's time like you need to take some action and solve the problem. So I didn't know what was going on. So I went to the doctor and he took some x-rays of my hips and he found calcifications on both my hips and told me, based on the state of what he saw, that I was going to need a hip replacement within the next year to solve my pain. And I can't even imagine cutting into my body at any point in time like that as far as replacing something goes. I was like, no, there's got to be another way. And I started trying every modality I could find under the sun. I tried to going to the chiropractor 3 times a week, doing craniosacral therapy. And I even tried a regular therapy. I was like, maybe it's emotionally related. I'll just work on all the things.
Mhm.
And nothing was moving the needle until I found regenerative health. And one of my best friends turned me on to this practitioner and I got on a protocol. And literally, it took me maybe just like 3.5 months, and my pain had gone away completely. My hormones had balanced out in a way like this was a happy side effect because I didn't go into this journey for my hormones. I had painful, terrible cycles for many, many years, and it had gotten worse and worse. And I have used the copper IUD throughout many years of my life because it's been very effective for me. But the longer I would use it, the longer and heavier my periods would get. And I thought it was just a side effect of the IUD too, as far as I was like, okay, they say this is normal. But my periods were like 10 days long and so heavy that I just want to like curl up in a ball on the floor and not talk to anybody. Um, and then all of a sudden I had my first pain-free period. And I was like, "Wait a second, hold up, like, why didn't anybody tell me that this is
Mhm.
possible? Because I would have done something about it." My PMS dropped away, my mood swings, like, there were so many beautiful things, not to mention, like, my energy levels and my adrenals coming back to life, but it was just a whole new world of, experiencing my body in a different way. And after all that stuff the doctor said, and then my pain just stopping, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'll get them checked out again. My calcifications had dissolved and I was in a whole new state of being. So this was the turning point for me where it really caught my attention and I wanted to share it with my loved ones. And my mother had IBS for 7 years and it was so bad that she had to carry her porta potty around with her everywhere. She was miserable, and she was dropping weight rapidly. So I was like, "Mom, it's time to do something else. Like, can we please try this?" And she had done the FODMAP diet. She had tried all these other things too. So she was a little resistant at first, but I was like, "Just give it a try." Within 45 days, she had a normal bowel movement, and she was able to reintroduce food she hadn't been able to eat in like 2 or 3 years without digestive distress. And
Oh,
she kept going. And by about like the 3.5 month mark, she also came to a point of being pretty much symptom free. And none of that stuff has come back. And it just kept getting better and better and better. So this was incredible. My dad decided to jump on board and he had these rashes all over his body that were really painful, and they would like ooze, and it was pustule. And he went to the doctors. He spent thousands of dollars at the doctor's office doing tests and trying to figure out what was wrong with him. And they were like, well, just use these steroid creams. We can't really figure out what's wrong, like, you just got to kind of live with it. And it took him 2.5 months on protocol, and his skin cleared up. These rashes didn't come back. He had a precancer skin patch on his arm that disappeared. It didn't come back. It had been there for 10 years and it had been growing before. So this was really the turning point for me, where I was like, holy moly, if this amount of regeneration and repair in the body is possible in that short period of time, no matter what is going on in the system, like we all had very different things going on.
Mhm.
I was like, I need to share this with the world, and I want to tell people about this everywhere, and I want to be a practitioner. So that's when I went back to Carrie Drinkwine, the practitioner who I was trained under at the Institute of Regenerative Health. And she has educated me, inspired me so much, because she's been doing this for over 10 years now. And she had 3 autoimmune diseases. She was told she was infertile, and she now has 5 children. She reversed all of her autoimmune within a year. Um, and she's now helped so many people at her clinic in Minneapolis to reverse chronic illness on so many different levels. Like, you name it, she can do it. She's done it. So now I'm following her footsteps in that sense of, I do have my niches, but I love helping those who they've tried everything else, and it's not working. And there's so much misinformation out there about hormones and like what's going on in the body. I was just listening to a call about PCOS earlier, and I was like, these doctors don't know what's going on. And it blows my mind to this point that, we're so miseducated, or we're still just like trying to figure it out, when it can be a lot simpler than we make it out to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I see individuals that are on I'm on Facebook boards because that's where I just talk to people. And they're
Mhm,
like, I have PCOS. And I ask them, well, what type of PCOS do you have? And they're
mhm,
like, there's different types. I was like, yes. And depending and what protocol are you using to help you reduce symptoms? And they're like, oh, I'm on hormonal birth control. And I'm just like, okay. I know that the one type of PCOS is inflammatory as well as insulin resistant. It's
mhm.
like a combination. And I know the combination birth control pill increases insulin resistance. I was like,
Exactly.
so I'm like, yeah.
And you're causing damage to the gut lining with that birth control, which is going to increase a cascade of hormonal imbalance in the body. That being on the birth control pill is one of the leading reasons for hormonal misregulation in the system, because like 80% of our hormones are made in the gut. So
Yeah.
um, it's pretty shocking sometimes to see what's going on out there.
Yeah. And when I bring that to their attention, they're like, well, then why is my doctor putting me on this? It's like, because that's what the doctor knows. They know
Mhm.
medications that will reduce symptoms.
Exactly. That's what they've been trained to do.
That's what they've been trained to do. They're not trained to fix. They're trained to do minimal to no harm. They are
Mhm.
not intending to harm you more. They just don't know any other way.
Exactly.
And there I I wish I could see the faces when they read this that 'cause there's other ways. And they're like, "Well, what do I do instead?" And that's where I have you. I have other individuals that I'm like, "Oh, you have this problem? Okay, let's go. I'd like you to talk to Ilsa. Oh, you have this? Okay, I'd like you to talk to this person."
Mhm.
Because there are so many ways to improve health, and you've done it. You've done it on yourself. You've done it on your mother. You've done it on your father. You've done it on so many different clients,
They're
and our body is a miraculous thing. You give it what it
so
needs.
powerful.
It knows what to do. It
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm. And
well,
sometimes we just underestimate the amount or the specific type of support that the body needs too,
mhm,
Even if we have a genetic dysfunction on some level. Like I like to say genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger, so to speak. And then there are so many cool biohacks that have come out these days that if you learn more about it, you can actually get your cells to function and your genetic function to function at a higher level, you know? Um, there's so many solutions out there these days. There's no excuse to just, put a band-aid on things anymore.
Mhm. And it's getting individuals to understand that. And it's
Yeah.
not easy. The steps might be simple, but the road isn't always easy.
It's so true. The road is not always easy. I mean, we're talking about reversing, cellular illness and those like chronic conditions in the body. So there is a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of lymphatic congestion that's been built up over a lifetime to move. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible and that you can't make leaps and bounds in like a relatively short period of time, considering like in the spectrum of like your whole life and then in the spectrum of a healing journey. Like most of my healing journeys are 3 to 6 months long, If you've got cancer or Parkinson's or something like that, we might be looking at like 8 to 12. But still, looking at the big picture or the spectrum, if you could actually come to a point where you no longer are dealing with this condition, then I would think that I would hope that you could wrap your mind around that being worth it for yourself, loving your body and having a totally different experience of your life after that point in time.
Yeah. I know individuals who have Parkinson's, and it's not extremely bad yet.
Mhm.
And I look at them like, "Okay, you're here and you know where you're going. What if you could go backwards? Would you wanna do that?" And they're like, "Well, yeah." "Okay. So what's stopping you?" And some of us, "I don't know how." And
Yeah.
some of them are like, "I don't wanna do the work." And it's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
you don't wanna do the work? Well, you know what direction you're headed,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that is your choice."
Mhm.
That's the beautiful thing, we have that choice.
Exactly. And it's no judgment, if
Mm.
it's your road, it's your body, it's your choice,
Yep.
whatever you want to do. But I feel like it's so important for us to be just shouting to the hills to let people know
Yeah.
that there are other ways out there to do things.
Yeah. Um, Besides being a regenerative health practitioner, you're also an iridologist.
Oh, yes.
What is that? And I've heard about it. I've seen different things. I know it's with the eyes. What is it? How do you do it?
For sure.
Tell me more.
Absolutely. It's super fascinating. And when I discovered this, I was like, wait a second, because they all say that the eye is the doorway to the soul, but it's also a literal picture of your internal body as far as your current state of health. So our eyes, our irises, are connected to 28,000 neurons in our systems, which are connected to all of our organs and glands and like the immune system, the respiratory system. You can see it all there in the eye. So when I blow up an image, I can see your current state of lymphatic congestion in different areas. I can see tissue weakness in specific areas. I can see levels of deterioration in different organs and glands. So I can figure out, oh, it's the pituitary that's struggling, or the pancreas needs more help. I can see if there's tears in the gut lining, or if there's mucoid plaque buildup on the inside of the intestinal wall. So there'll be malabsorption issues or those sorts of things. So when we look at the eye, I can figure out the root cause and be like, okay, this is what the body needs most. And even the nervous system, like we'll make these rings in the eyes if we go through a traumatic event or we're under a lot of stress. So I can even tell some of your emotional state of being as far as when you're coming to me, what's going on a day-to-day basis in your nervous system. So then I support the elimination pathways to open up and drain the body using different herbal tinctures or some of the biohacks that I use to really get that organ and cellular function up. And that's my goal as a practitioner is we want to open the drainage pathways so that we can get the lymphatic waste out, clear the congestion out of the body, clear the toxins, the chemicals, whatever buildup You can also see chemical deposits in the eye. So if somebody's been on medication for a really long time, if you're exposed to a lot of heavy metals, um, or other toxins and things, you can actually see it looks like a little ink dot in the eye. So I can see like, oh, well, you've got a chemical deposit in the liver, or there's one sitting in some brain tissue, and we need to clear that out. And that's where some of the more regenerative science aspects of things, as far as um, some of the tools that can actually capture those toxins and clear them out quickly. So, iridology is my main form of analysis in the body. I also go through symptomology. We talk about everything you're experiencing, your lifestyle, but that is my fail-safe way of being like, okay, what's going on?
That is so fascinating that you can see that in the eye.
Mhm. It's
I
pretty powerful.
It is extremely powerful. I knew that you could see a whole bunch of different things. I didn't realize how much was connected
Mhm.
to the eyes. And I know with the cycle, there are out of the 50 known hormones, 12 are involved in the cycle. I knew that our cycle was involved in all 11 body systems. I
Mhm.
didn't realize how connected the eye was to the entire body. And it
Yeah,
makes
it's
so
wild.
much sense. Oh my goodness. I love it. I could sit here and just ask question after question after question. Um, you have some courses though that um you have available that right here it is. You have My Body, My Home, Master Your Menopause. Would you tell us a little bit about who's that's for
Mhm.
and what they may learn or what they're who would benefit from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this course, I have a whole series of My Body, My Homes coming out, and it's going to be different group cohorts or solo journeys. You can do it either way, whichever speaks to you more and whatever's within your budget, basically. But whatever journey you're taking with a My Body, My Home, we are going to be supporting the system to function at its highest possible level and help you step into your own thrive mode. So, with Master Your Menopause, this is for women who are struggling with perimenopause or menopause symptoms. And they really want to learn how to make this an easy breezy transition in life, because we all go through the change at some point, but this does not have to be a struggle. Not to say that you're never, ever, ever going to have a hot flash, but like your hot flash could be like a little, oh, I feel a little warm, and then it passes, kind of a thing. And there's so much that goes into just understanding like why we have these unsavory symptoms coming up during this time and this change in our life. And there's hormonal balance, but there's also congestion in the body. So during this course, whether it's a group or a solo journey, we are going to address the education around it. So you really understand the shift that's happening in your body and how best to support it. And then you'll have your own customized protocol as well as we walk through the journey together. So we'll have weekly educational calls. You've got a Mighty Networks platform where there'll be educational materials for you, videos, recipes, meal plans, those sorts of things. And this journey is, you can choose 3 to 4 months. I usually suggest 4 because that's after 3 months is where you start getting the biggest breakthroughs, because it takes 90 days for your hormones to balance. And it also takes 90 days for a full cellular regeneration cycle to occur. So exciting things start happening at 90 days. And then if we take it just one more step past that, that's where we can start actually integrating. I like to move people month 3 to 4 into more of how to maintain what we've created in the body and really educate around that. So that's Master Your Menopause, My Body, My Home. And then I'm going to have another My Body, My Home launching in May around PCOS and reversing that condition. No matter what type of PCOS, you can join us because we're going to go into the education behind this, what's going on in the body, of course, no matter what type you have. And your protocol will be customized to address that type as well. So that's going to be launching on May 22nd. And I have a little workshop coming up to lead into that, to give you some more information about how I work as a practitioner to actually educate you a little bit more around like what's happening in your body during that condition and what that journey would look like in greater detail too if you decided that you wanted to take a regenerative health transformation. So that workshop is going to be Wednesday, May 8th at 12 p.m. Pacific. So if you know of anybody who is struggling with either perimenopause, menopause, or PCOS, we have something exciting to offer. The My Body, My Home for the menopause has already launched, but you can join anytime again. And there's different group times where you can jump in, or again, we can have a one-on-one journey. And I do have a Master Your Menopause workshop as well, which is similar structure as far as just giving you a little intro to what this would look like for you and what's going on in the body at that transitional time. And that's going to be May 7th from 12 to 1.
Wonderful. With the PCOS, do you have to know what type you have, or is that something that you'll be able to figure out once they start working with you?
Yeah, you don't have to know what type you have. We can figure it out based on me asking you a series of questions as far as your lifestyle. Were you on the pill before this? That kind of thing. And then also just looking at the eye, I can figure out, okay, so is it an inflammatory thing that's going on? Is it gut related? Is it the pituitary misfiring signals? Which can be the adrenal type of PCOS as well, because if the pituitary is not getting the right signals, she bosses around the adrenals and tells them what to do. So sometimes a lot of people are like, oh, my adrenal glands, but I'm like, let's figure out, is it the pituitary or is it the adrenals that really need the most support here?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll investigate.
Wonderful, because I know I can hear individuals, but I want that. I'm interested in the PCOS, but do I need to know what kind? Or
No, definitely not.
do I do I even need to know if I have PCOS? I have all the symptoms. They're saying that I do, but even with that, it covers it with the irregular or painful periods. Because usually if you have
Mhm.
irregular cycles or painful cycles, there's a good chance you have some possible realm of PCOS.
Absolutely. On some level, because I do feel like even the different types of PCOS kind of represent different stages of PCOS as well. And they can be connected and they can shift to one another. So, no matter what, even if you're undiagnosed and you're having these symptoms come up for you, like the hair growth or um, you're gaining more weight or, your periods are just really irregular, then that's something that we could figure out exactly what's going on by looking at the eye. So, no matter what, we'll get to the root cause. And if you don't have the title, the diagnosis, I'd like to say, don't be dazzled by the diagnosis, just do the detox, because we can all get to the same place.
Yep. And then there's the other one, which is the reversing Hashimoto's and thyroid dysfunction, which is huge,
Mhm.
absolutely
Yes.
huge.
So this group cohort, I am waiting to launch until June because it is a bigger package, but I am doing one-on-one journeys right now. But I'm really excited about this one. I want to put a lot of promo out there into the world because there's so many individuals that I've come upon that are struggling with this condition, but it's completely reversible. And there's deeper steps to go about to get there, but if you're willing to do the work and put in the effort, that'll look more like a 6-month journey, but we can do it. So I'll have more information to you soon about the exact launch date for that coming up in June.
Wonderful. And we'll have that. I'll help spread the word on that with my newsletter and social media and um just let people know, just remind them, hey, check out this episode. This is what's happening and this is what's going on.
Thank
For
you.
oh, you are welcome. For those have that are they don't have a diagnosis, but they know something's wrong. They don't know if it's an adrenal. What are some symptoms of possible adrenal failure or adrenal fatigue? Um,
Mhm.
that's not necessarily menstrual related.
Yeah. There's so many different things that the adrenals are connected to. It's kind kind of crazy as far as all of the different things that the adrenals are in charge of. They're in charge of a lot of our neurotransmitter function. So even things like, I mean, first thing, I mean, we all think about our energy levels, right? And our stress levels, cortisol and stuff. So if you're not handling stress well, this is like a very lower level symptom. But if you're just like feeling like, oh my God, I don't have anxiety about the world that something stressful happens and I don't know how to handle it, that's your adrenals. Diabetes, directly related to the adrenal glands because they are also in charge of our sugar breakdown in the system and metabolizing that on some level. So, if you have diabetes or if you're pre-diabetic, that's an adrenal symptom. Even things like cardiovascular regulation can be related to that neurotransmitter function. So things like irregular heartbeat or arrhythmias, high blood pressure, blood pressure, um, even tremors or nervous legs can be related to the adrenals, and sleep challenges, which also can be related to the pineal gland or the pituitary gland, which again, we can figure out if we look at the eye. But challenges getting to sleep or staying to sleep can be adrenally related. Tinnitus, if you have ringing in the ears, that is directly related to adrenal health. Um, and then, of course, like if you just need a cup of coffee to get through the day or some caffeine to get through the day, that is moving from like stage 1 to 2 of adrenal fatigue. If you need like a couple cups of coffee a day, you need that you're at around stage 2. If you start taking naps, you need naps to get through the day, like you actually need a nap, you're moving into stage 3. If you're in bed all day long and you're just like, oh my God, I can't get myself up, I just feel tired all day long, you're moving into stage 3 to 4. But once you hit 4, like you are in bed, that is that. Oh, and the other thing that I should bring up is ADD, ADHD, neurodivergence. This is also directly adrenally related, as well as gut related damage to the gut.
That is fascinating.
But
Oh
any
my
condition
goodness.
like endometriosis, ovarian cysts, excessive bleeding during your period, difficulty conceiving, if you have reoccurring miscarriages, this is the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands, they need to be nurtured. Um, if you have fibrocystic breast tissue or like sore and painful breasts right before menstruation, that's also adrenally related.
Wow, I did not realize how much was packed in those little tiny glands.
I know they're so powerful and they're
They
little
are.
hats for our kidneys. So they have to
Yeah.
filter a lot of things through them because our cellular waste has to go through the kidneys to be excreted. So they take a lot of punches during the day, as far as everything that we're processing through our bodies and our cells. So it's really important, even if you're not into doing a detox or some kind of restorative work, like give them some support, like even just ginseng, bee pollen, cordyceps, like these are all like great little ways to give them a little extra love so that they can function a little better.
I know one of the complaints that I hear quite a bit is extremities are cold. Their hands are always cold, their body's always cold, their feet are
Thyroid
cold.
related.
I I was wondering where that comes into play, and I know
Uh-huh.
that they doctors like to look at TSH. They don't always look at the T3, the T4, they just look at the general
Hmm.
overarching TSH. So that's a thyroid, and to really dive kinda deeper into that, would they need those T3 tests or just say, "Alright, I heard about Elsa, I want you to look at my eye. What is going on with my thyroid?"
Yeah, we could definitely see what level of deterioration is happening in the thyroid. And even though I can't say, oh, your level of TSH is that, your T4 is dropped, or your T3 is up. I mean, it helps to have those numbers just to know, but the work is still going to be the same. And if you have thyroid weakness and thyroid deterioration, I'm still going to suggest the same tools for restoration, no matter what your levels are at, if it's a thyroid issue. But we can sometimes thyroid issues are misdiagnosed because, again, the pituitary is in charge of regulating the thyroid. So If I see in the eye, oh, the thyroid looks fine, but the pituitary is struggling, then we're going to approach it a whole different way. Or if I see the thyroid is fine, but the gut is really ripped up, then we're going to focus on gut health, and we might hold off on the thyroid for a second as far as specific nurturing goes for that gland. But I used to have cold hands and feet. Even after I did a lot of detoxin work, I was still having the symptom come up. And I work with this cell signaling supplement, which enhances cellular function. When you start, it's a liquid and a gel, and you can drink it and put it on your body, and that's the best combo. But I decided to just start using the gel on my thyroid for a little while. That's the only change that I made it with all the things I was doing. And it took me 2 weeks, and all of a sudden my hands and feet stopped getting cold. I wasn't like, my roommate wasn't getting mad at me for turning up the heat all the time because I did have those symptoms, and it was really interesting. It came back to life pretty quickly. So something as simple as like a little cell simulating gel could make the difference on some level. Um, and then getting those tests, it is fun to have the tests, the levels beforehand, because after we do the work, then we can, if we want to, we can get the test and be like, oh, look at us, look at the greatness that we've done and balance everything out. But it's not necessary.
Castor oil packs are kind of really big right now.
Uh-huh.
They're kind of an old school thought process. I know they've been around for a while. They've just started coming back. If somebody is interested in that, is it something that they can just kind of put into their protocol, that they're doing everything else, that nothing else has changed? Will it help by doing a liver pack? Will it help doing an abdominal pack with anything? Or do they need something more than just putting castor oil on their body, be it overnight or rubbing it in, or however they,
Uh-huh.
preferably they don't drink it because that can really lead to some intestinal
Yeah,
distress, but
don't
no,
drink.
no, especially trying to get labor
I'm all
going, but
for, yeah, I'm all for castor oil packs. I think that they're great. But I think again, like a lot of people maybe using them in excess when you could be focusing on a first step that might be missing as far as that kidney filtration goes. And like if our liver is struggling, and we have elimination pathways, we've got the kidneys, we've got the GI, we've got the lungs and the skin. So a castor oil pack is going to pull things out of the skin, but it can also enhance detox on some level, which is great. But if our kidneys aren't filtering well, like sometimes people get lymphatic massages, and they're like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
moving my lymph, it's good for me. But if your kidneys are really backed up and you're pushing that cellular waste down to be excreted, this can put so much pressure on them. It can cause hypertension, it can cause other kidney issues. And we need to really get them filtering in order to get the waste out of our bodies. The skin can act like a third kidney, but sometimes when we use a castor oil pack to push things out of our systems, all of a sudden we start getting eruptions out of the skin or things like that because the body doesn't know how to get rid of its waste. But it's always going to try for you. It's like, I'll do my best. Let's push it
Yep.
out. So I would start, like, if you're having some kind of an issue and you want to castor oil pack, I did castor oil packs on my kidneys when I was working on getting them open, but I did them in tandem with herbs to support filtration at the same time. So if you're on any kind of a healing journey, that is my foundational step, is like looking at the kidneys and making sure that we're getting them filtering the lymphatic waste. And there is a simple at-home way that you can test that by yourself on your own. Um, and if anybody has questions about that, ask me. But it, yeah, it's definitely a great tool. I think that there is a method to the, not madness, but a method to it. But I would be just aware of the kidneys, and that being something that's really important as far as regenerating your body and getting your cellular waste out of your system.
Yep. I thank you for that, because I know that that's kind of, I'm hearing people, "Oh, yeah, castor oil packs, they're great. I heard about this, or I heard about that," and like, you know what? Elsa would know. She would be a great resource to ask this question to, because instead of going to Doctor Google, because
Uh-huh. Oh,
Doctor
don't Dr.
Google
Google. Don't do it. Don't Dr. Google.
Doctor Google's scary.
Uh,
Doctor
it
Google can
is
be
scary.
very
There's
scary.
so much misinformation out there. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I I have I feel blessed that I have such a powerful resource, and she's done so much education. Like, she's been trained in so many different modalities, and she's working with some of the most powerful people in the world. And she vigorously tests everything for like 6+ months before she introduces a product to her students in the institute and that kind of stuff. So she knows exactly what the results are and like what's happening and how best to support the systems. Because even I got health coach certified when I was a dancer to help my dancers, my students with some holistic style weight loss coaching and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. What I was taught at
Mhm.
the Health Institute is nothing that I would ever teach anybody right now as far as how to lose weight. You're actually, what they taught me is what I've now been taught will cause hypertension and kidney disease. So it's really interesting that even though, I thought I was being well educated, that's something that I would never use now. So I'd really encourage people to, if you are Googling things, Google a whole bunch and see all the different opinions on everything, because there's so much out there and you're going to see a lot of cross information. And then, talk to somebody who actually knows what's going on, because yeah, it can be a
Yeah.
dangerous world.
I completely and wholeheartedly agree. Where can listeners find you, um, if they wanna get to follow you, see what you do, how you present things, see if they're really a good match for you or you for them?
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a website, firesparkcoaching.com. And then you can always email me, firesparkcoaching@gmail.com. But I'm also on social media. I'm on Facebook just under my name, Ilsa Lynn Greatorex-Duncan. I know that's a mouthful, so you can always look I'm sure my name will be posted here.
Absolutely.
Um, and then on Instagram, I am at Ilsa LGD, my initials.
And all
And
of
I am
those
on
links.
TikTok too.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool. And all of those links will
Sorry.
be in the show notes. No, you're good. You're good. Thank you so much for being here. Before we leave, do you have any wise words of wisdom for us to take with us?
Hmm. I just want everyone to know that the body is designed to repair itself when we give it the right support. And there's always a solution. There's never a condition that's too deep. The work works, and I've seen miracles happen, honestly. So, um, yeah, that's my inspiration for the day to you out there. And don't be distraught if you haven't found a solution yet, because there are solutions out there. And even if I'm not the lady for you, there's plenty of other people out there in the world that are doing great work. That we're creating an army of regenerative health practitioners right now too. So it should become a much more recognized practice as well, um, because this modality is it's breathtaking as far as what is possible, and seeing people go from barely functioning to stepping into thrive mode within like less than a year's time, I think is something that everybody needs to know about, that these things are possible. So thank you for shining a light on it today. And I'm here if anybody has any more specific questions for me. I'd love to answer 'em.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing those amazing words of wisdom with us and to end on. Thank you, Elsa, for taking us on this enlightening journey into iridology and regenerative health, everything that it can help with, and that knowing that what we're going through has a way of healing when we partner with the right person.
So true. Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. All of the links can be found in the show notes. Thank you so much, listeners, for spending your time with us today. If you found a nugget of wisdom or a moment of empowerment, my mission is accomplished. Do you know someone who could benefit from this information? Please share Embracing Flow with them. Until next time, my friends, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividous. See you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Embracing Flow. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show, submit a rating and review, and share it with your friends. Visit my website to receive your free PDF on 4 ways to decrease PMS. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividus.
Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.